Hello, fabulous friends, fans, and superstars. Welcome to Synchronicity Web TV. I am your host, Nadiya Shah, and this is your moment of synchronicity. Well, I'm so excited to celebrate with you today, Mark McGowan. Now, Mark is a star in his own right, I'll tell you. And what I love is that he reached out to my team through my website, and he said, "Hey, look at me, I'm a star. Let me be on your channel. What can I do?" And so he sent clips of him on VH1, Black Ink Crew Chicago. And just watching him, he was so magnetic, but also had this energy that was wise and insightful. And I was like, wow, this guy's a star. Yeah, have him on the channel. And the little bit of work that we've done so far, he is a professional as well. So I know that our conversation is going to just go, it's going to be a breeze. That's what it is when you talk to a pro, I'll tell you. So Mark is a medium and he brings astrology into it. He brings healing into it. Mark is coming to Synchronicity University as part of the November 2023 speaker series. You've got just a couple of weeks left to choose your tuition rate, as low as just $5 a class, an unheard of rate to learn from this caliber of astrologer. And I think that Mark's course alone, or his class alone, will be more than worth it, as you are about to see. Mark, thank you for being here. I'm so looking forward to getting to know you.
Thank you so much, Nadiya, for having me. I'm so excited to talk to you today.
And so, Mark, I want to ask you about being on TV. Let's start there. I know that's not really about mediumship or whatever, but you are taking this representation into an environment that is, sometimes I find that when they have the astrologers there, the psychics there, it's about spooky, right? It's about the show. But what I found interesting about the clips that you shared with me, and I'll try to link to them below so other people can see them on your own YouTube channel as well, is that, yeah, there's a little bit of that at the very beginning, but the way that you approach it, it shows that this is a practice of wisdom. It's a practice of healing. And I found that really powerful. So what was that experience like for you, going into that environment and also sharing of yourself in a more meaningful way as well?
So, well, I'm a Leo. So
Well, that says it all.
That's where we have, and I also have my Mercury in Leo as well. Now that's like double Apollo with the North Node at an exact conjunction with my Sun. So for those of you that may not quite understand that, my Mercury was, when I was born, it was my morning star. And so when it is your morning star, it takes on that mythology of Apollo, which was really more of the performer and really someone who does download information a bit. But for me, I've always felt that my inspiration or the energy that was flowing through me to carry me through my work has always been about what is the message behind all this? And it's always inspiration. So when I got to that point where I was able to go on television and have that opportunity, I really knew that that was all I needed, and just trust the process. When it's about inspiring others to sort of become their best version of themselves and healing, that's where I think the miracles begin in mediumship and really all divination. So I was blown away that I was given the opportunity to present mediumship the way I feel it should be. And I was so thankful for that, because I was a little worried, you never know that maybe they want something else that's a little bit less spiritual or a little bit less meaningful, a little bit less healing. But they were kind of like, no, you do this, went in blind both times. And they let, I did say, as a Leo, I did say, this is what I do. So let me go. And they said, okay, if you say so. And I said, okay. So, but it was a tremendous experience, and I feel that others that see mediumship in that way, the healing component to it, the inspiration component, and the spiritual component to it, might also identify with that within themselves, maybe as mediums, but also to be more spiritual in their life as well.
How do you define mediumship? What is that for people who may not be as familiar?
So mediumship is when there's a spirit, there's the human being who's communicating on behalf of that spirit, and there's a third person who's receiving the communication. So it's really a trinity. And we see trinity all over, everywhere in all spiritual dogmas, philosophies. That's really it. And it's when it's somebody else, an intelligence that survives physical death, and it's usually someone who has some sort of love or familiarity with the person that's sitting in front of you. But it actually requires all three. Without one of those components being there, it's really kind of clunky and it doesn't really exist. So mediumship isn't just me and the spirit, and that's kind of it. That's spirit communication, but mediumship truly requires three: somebody who's able to listen to the medium itself, and the spirit communicator. That's mediumship.
And so you're connecting with a spirit, normally like someone who's passed on, for example. And because of the love that other person brings who's here, you're able to create this space where some message can come forward in that. So, do you see spirits? Do you hear them? How do you connect with them? Or is it like more of
So
a you feel it?
so I'm very fortunate that I have all the senses, so I can see, hear, know, smell, taste, touch, all that. I'm very lucky. There are mediums that are on this earth that are incredibly talented that can see, or maybe they can't hear. And sometimes I meet them and they feel like they're not mediums. So it breaks my heart because I tell them, well, maybe it'll be 10 years from now that you'll be able to see them or hear them. Maybe it's not in your destiny at all. Just take what you can get and be grateful for that because it's a precious gift. But I was always very fortunate that at the age of 3, that's when I saw my first spirit. It was my grandmother in the spirit realm, and I always feel like she was my teacher in mediumship. Really, um, that was the moment basically that I was like my aha moment. 3 years old. I am fortunate enough to have that perception and be able to communicate in those ways. And I would say to that, if for those of you watching that may feel like you have some sort of connection or proclivity with mediumship or spirit communication, don't worry if you can't hear. Don't worry if you can't see. Even if you just have a knowing, you just know in your bones that that's grandmother or grandfather or your uncle or that annoying next door neighbor that wanted to give you $1 at every Christmas. That it's still a beautiful thing to have, to know that someone in a place that's beyond our world loves you so much that it's willing to take time out of their existence to say hello to.
And so, have you thought about what happens to people once they become spirit? What is it?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I always tell everyone, clients, students, doesn't matter who, that I only get a fraction of what is possible. I always study the ancients, the mystics of, no matter where they are in the world and what they said. And the commonality is there's worlds within worlds within worlds within worlds. We hear 7 heavens, we hear 7 stages of enlightenment, we hear all these things. And so to me, when most of us transition from this life into the next life, we go through sort of a review. And Carl Jung was one of the ones that talked about this as the shadow self. To me, essentially, the shadow self, facing that, integrating that in your life, is the review process that all of us go through when we go from one phase of living, this world, into the next. And then after that, after you've reviewed your life, all the things that you may regret, the things people did to you, the things you did to them, all that stuff, then you make your choice. Do I want to go this way, that way, or this way? I believe you can be in multiple places. So we call this bilocating. I'm sure there's even more so to that. So you can be in your own version of heaven or the other side or whatever word you want to call that, and simultaneously be able to say hello to someone on the earth. There's no interruption with that. But as far as your spiritual growth and your soul growth on the other side, a bit more complex, a bit more personalized, a bit more unique. I would say if you can allow yourself, maybe your loved ones will give you a glimpse a peek behind the curtain in your dreams. And you'll say, oh, this is what Mark was talking about. It's wonderful colors here, and I feel great, and I feel this, and I feel that. So I think there's a lot of growth over there, and I do believe from what the souls and spirits have told me that they actually grow through us too. They grow vicariously through our mistakes, through our pains, through our sadness. They grow through that vicariously. So it's almost like there's this tethered link that exists, not just because they're trying to help you win the lottery or meet that new boyfriend or girlfriend or get the job promotion. It's not always about them giving you a message. It's more so like, hi, I'm there for you and I'm growing with you. I'm still connected with this world and with you. I'm growing here and I'm growing with you on the site as well.
So, as you were talking, I was thinking about something. I know we'll get to the astrology in just a minute for the people out there, but Pluto and Aquarius. I've been going on and on about this for years. Pluto and Aquarius is going to change the world. And I told people, especially with that little bit of Pluto and Aquarius that we had earlier this year, I said, watch what happens, because there are going to be the very beginning of big world-changing technologies and developments. And you really want to watch what's happening, because it's going to point the way to what it is we're moving towards over the next 20 years. And perhaps that and even more, especially once we get later in the decade, 2026, 2027, when we get the trine with Uranus and Pluto perfecting. But it is going to be next year somewhat, but really the year after, when we get that grand sextile that's going to be with us into the next decade in a way as it moves forward. So what ended up being the big technology, what I think is the really big technology, is Apple is coming out with this thing called Vision Pro. Now, I've been going on and on about this. I've been asking people about this because everyone who's tried it has said it is unlike anything that they've ever tried before. And they've said that this is like the next iPhone, like eventually everyone's going to have this in their house. That's what they believe. And so what it is, you put on this headset and you literally are wherever it is that you choose with your site. You are able to have conversations with people. You are able to feel like you are in a movie. Like if the movie is taking place in a park, you're sitting in the park. Like that's how it is. That's how it engages all your senses, that it's such a powerful thing. And to me, this represents Aquarius so strongly, because Aquarius is about the collective, but it's also very individualistic. And this idea of having your own individual experience, it makes so much sense for this symbol. And so for one, I'm excited about it. Here's why I mention it. When this technology came out and I saw everything, I said to my mom, because my mom is my best friend. No matter where I go, I talk to her. Like we made a deal back when I was 18 and I took my first solo trip. And she said, okay, you can go anywhere in the world, but you got to call me every day. And that's what I've done. Like basically, whenever I travel, I call her every day. And now it's so meaningful to me to have that friendship with her, you know? But anyways, I said to her, you know, Mom, because you can put these on and feel like someone's with you. And a friend of mine is a professor of AI. I said, Mom, I want an AI version of you, because I know that you're going to pass away. And I would like to be able to put this headset on and feel like I'm talking to you. The things that you always said to me, I want to hear them, and put your perfume on the bed or whatever so I can smell you. Like, I think it'll help me, like, especially when I'm grieving and your loss and things like that. And so, yeah, grieving is something I hope that you'll talk about as well. But my mom said that you should be able to connect spiritually. Like, she kind of made that move of like, no, like you let spirit handle it. I'm going to be here anyways. So you don't worry about that. And I said, okay, yeah, I know, but wouldn't it be cool? So then my friend said, get her to record lots of video and audio, because eventually when that's a reality, you're going to feed the machine all of that stuff so it knows what to say, how to say it, and all that stuff. So I told her to do this. And every day she started sending me these videos where she's asking me, what did I eat? Like, that was basically it. Like, what did you eat? In real life, she doesn't really ask me stuff like that much. But I had to say to her, Mom, if you just send me videos like this, the machine is going to think that's the answer to everything. No matter what I say to you, it's going to be like, did you eat yet? I want to make sure you eat. I like it when you eat. Like, you know. Okay, so that's the story. What do you think about that? All that story to say. What are your thoughts?
I'm with your mom. I'm
Yeah, I thought you would be, but yeah. Justify it. Tell me why.
I'm with your mom. So many of you watching, if you don't know who Carl Jung is, you probably should Google his name because he's been massively influential. In fact, the university that Nadiya runs is called Synchronicity University. The name was coined by Carl Jung. Carl Jung's mother was a medium. And not a lot of people know that. And she was actually trained as a trance medium. She spoke in tongues, very similar to the style that I was informally trained with. We'll just say that because there was some trance that I've done as well. And so he spoke about the collective unconscious, being able to communicate with, well, a lot of psychologists say imaginary friends, but it's really intelligence, consciousness. But he researched all the cultures, the mystics, the seers, the oracles, the rishis, doesn't matter. And he had a mom that was a medium. He knew spirit communication was there, but he also knew that he could sort of take it and then just go one step further with it and do so much with it. But if he was here today, he would say, Nadiya, she'll be there. She'll be there in a second. Because we know that in mediumship, if there's a genuine connection between two souls, two spirits, there'll always be something there. And I think that when we lose someone to the spirit realm, it's a heartbreak, and that reminds us, wow, we lived. If we cry and shed tears for somebody who passes away, that means it was worth it because we lost something we really truly loved, and that's precious. But also what happens is that even in my own life with spirits that I know that I love that are no longer with me, it's not every day that I hear from them. I have a father in the spirit realm too. It's not 24 hours a day and 7 days a week. So when it's intermittent, it could be months. And then all of a sudden I get a sign where he appears in my dream or he's in my living room, whatever the case may be, because he could do a lot. It's even more special that it's that way instead of maybe, and just in my opinion, some other way, like through technology. I feel that is like, hey, this soul, this spirit, no matter who loses a loved one, they're on the other side in this magnificent place. They can do anything with their time, and they're choosing still to say hello to Nadiya or to Mark. That's love. They don't have to. And they're still choosing to do that. And better yet, you're still sending that thought of love to them. I miss you, Mom. I miss you, Dad. I miss you, Grandma. They say, oh my gosh, Mark and Nadiya have a million things to do on the earth. We know how hard it is. We were there. And they still care. They still miss us. That must do something to them on their journey. So there's a growth when we miss them. Because they go, wait a minute, I'm over here. Why do they? Wow, they still love us. I'm not here. So even in our despair, they grow through that, and we do too.
So how does astrology fit into your work? Because I know with your course, and I keep saying course, but I mean class, right? So I guess that means that you guys be on the lookout. Of course, if I keep saying course, it means that that is already manifested. We're probably just going to show up for it eventually. But I know in your class, you'll be looking at bringing light to your dark side as part of, to remind you guys, the November 2023 speaker series. And Choose Your Tuition Rate is on right now till the end of October, until Halloween, for you to enjoy this class and so much more. And so you will explore the shadow self, but you're bringing astrology into it. You're bringing this sense of mediumship into it. How does the astrology piece come together?
Oh, I love it. So I'll just say this. When I use the term dark side, and Nadiya says the shadow, those are the same. Your dark side is the shadow self. Your shadow self is anything in your life that you don't have light on. That's things that people did not so good to you. That's things you did to other people that you may not appreciate, but it's also some things that we're just ignoring, and that could be strengths. You know, if you're a great writer or great singer and someone gives you compliments and you go, "No, I'm not," goes that tucks away to your dark side, to your shadow self. And so it's your birth chart is the occult. It's the secrets. It's actually really for a lot of people, the entire chart is the dark side, the shadow self. And but once you bring your awareness to the chart, all of a sudden you're giving that illumination. You're starting to realize, oh wait, my career is here because I have Sun in the second house. I am going to be my own boss. But there's other things too that are a little bit more rough, so to speak. Pluto, Black Maloof, Chiron. We hear Chiron all the time. I'll give you an example for somebody maybe famous. So there's a famous actor named Christopher Reeves. I'm sure everyone's heard of it. He played Superman, right? There's a rectification chart out there, and they believe that he was born with Chiron in the fifth house. Just to show you, like, I want to caveat this. Astrology isn't always this literal and concrete. Okay, so caveat. But Chiron is the centaur, half man, half horse. Well, Christopher Reeves injured himself on a horse playing polo. Fifth house is the house of sport. Chiron is centaur, to wound yourself and not pass away. It's an immortal wound. So he was paralyzed. He literally played out Chiron in the fifth house, probably the most literal way you'll ever find in your entire life. So then you say, well, what's the shadow part? That sounds terrible. That part is. But what did he do? He transmuted it because he took that and became the mentor for everybody. He went out and spoke. He never quit in life. He went around and toured. He did lectures, and he raised awareness for spinal injuries. And now we've made so much progress with our technology, with our science, with spinal injuries, a lot to do with him. So that is probably the ultimate version. I mean, we know Chiron in mythology. If you don't know, there is an planetoid, astro something that we're not really sure it's called. We'll just say it's an asteroid, Chiron. And I'm sure that's going to change in a few years. And the mythology of Chiron was that Chiron was a mentor in mythology and trained the heroes. And one day was accidentally struck with an arrow that was made from his own poison from one of his students. So he could not die, but was injured. Then one day he saw it was Prometheus that was being punished, and he sacrificed his own life. So he transmuted. He was like, I'm suffering, but he was still able to sacrifice his own life for somebody else. And the gods rewarded him. Spirit rewarded him. And so you see that with Christopher Reeves too. Like, what was anybody's incentive when you get injured like that and you lose really everything? He lost, his acting. He lost his riches, his fortune, and still the genius in him. I believe he must have contacted that personal unconscious of his, the wisdom, his soul, his spirit, to be able to do that and to be that strong. But now he is forever immortalized certainly in our hearts and science too. That is probably the best example that you can get, probably the most literal example. Everyone has something in their chart. They do have Chiron on their chart. They have Pluto on their chart. They have Saturn. They have these difficult things, squares and aspects and houses and stelliums. But we don't want to forget that even our strengths, I have a family member who is good looking. They're a great writer. They're very talented. They deny it all. So I'm like, this is getting tucked away with the shadow. So it's not just all the icky. It's all the strengths. It's everything we ignore in life. So literally, you could look at a chart and say almost all of it could potentially be the dark side shadow self, until you come along and someone says, you know what? Don't be afraid of anything. There is a reason for this. And you can, if you can illuminate these things in your life, you could bring so much light to help other people avoid a similar heartbreak.
How beautiful, how powerful. And this is the kind of stuff that you are going to learn at Synchronicity University as part of the November 2023 speaker series. Mark McGowan, the one and only, I'm just saying it, you are a superstar and putting it out there. I have loved getting to know you here and talking to you, but how interesting this class is set to be, to look at that chart differently, but also, as you said, you have such a focus on healing, to transform and transmute that energy so that it comes out a different way. Before we started recording, I was telling Mark, like, Pluto and Aquarius, if you watch me for a while, you know, it's been freaking me out a little bit. I try not to be, I stay focused on the positive, but yeah, it's my sun sign, so I do get a little freaked out. But it's very encouraging that you're able to guide people to say, okay, yeah, this is coming. This is how you change up the energy. It doesn't have to come out in all those ways you're afraid of. And I think that's when astrology really is at its best, when um, it brings a sense of empowerment, but that spirituality that it's bringing because of your mediumship, I think that's really powerful. So I'm looking forward to you sharing all that at Synchronicity University very soon.
I'm looking forward for the opportunity to share all that as well. So thank you so much, Nadiya.
Well, thank you, Mark, once again. And thank you, everybody out there, for watching. Until we connect again, take care. Bye.